Everybody, it's Jeffrey Hessler. Welcome back to my channel on the Gridiron Podcast. Here we talk about college football, pro football, any football. So if you like football, please go check out some of my other videos. Even if you don't like football, please go check out those videos. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Speaking of NFL football, just wanted to say quick condolences out to Damar Hamlin. If you don't know what happened, you go ahead and look that up. We're not going to get too much into it. Just very scary situation on Monday night. So a lot of good news coming back for him. So prayers out to him and his family. Hope he's doing all right and keeps getting better. But that being said, today we're going to be talking about the Peach Bowl and some takeaways for Ohio State. There's some good things to actually look at here for the future wise and just getting some wrinkles worked out, I guess you would say, for Ohio State and just the high standards that these fans hold the program as a whole too. So we're going to get into that. Starting out, coming into the game, Ohio State had a lot to prove, I feel like, in a way. Ryan Day, CJ Stroud, you could throw Jim Knowles in there. You could throw the program as a whole in there. A lot of question marks coming around after the absolute horrendous loss to Michigan. I mean, I felt like in the Michigan game, Ohio State in the first half controlled that game. Michigan had, I think, 12 yards rushing at half, and then it just opened up in the second half. And it wasn't necessarily because I felt like Michigan was the better team. I felt more that Ohio State kind of played not to lose, played scared, and held back. And Ryan Day caught a lot of heat for that. C.J. Stroud caught a lot of heat. People weren't calling him tough, not a good quarterback, can't win the big games, whatever you want to say. People question his running ability. Why isn't he running? Why isn't he running? If you're an Ohio State fan, you understand what I'm saying. It's been something that Ohio State fans have wanted to see out of C.J. Stroud since he took over the job. And, his first ever career touchdown was a 60-yard read option to the house against Michigan State back in 2020. And all of a sudden, a kid can't run the ball. Everybody's like, what's going on? And that was a big question mark for me as well headed into this Peach Bowl was what's going to happen when the pocket breaks down. When you got guys like Jalen Carter and the Georgia defense that you know is going to be aggressive, they blitzed all night, they did. Great defense line, great at getting after the quarterback. When you got stuff like that, you kind of question, can this quarterback move around in the pocket? And that was my question for C.J. Stroud, even on an NFL level, regardless of the Peach Bowl. It was his arm talent is great. He can put the ball anywhere. He's got a great arm, great touch on the ball. He knows how to hit guys even when they're not open. But as an NFL quarterback, you're going to be pressured and you're going to have to evade the pocket. Whether you're Tom Brady, don't matter who you are, you're going to have to move around in the pocket. And I think C.J. Stroud answered that very well. There's a couple instances where he ran the ball, one of them being the run that set them up for the field goal that eventually they missed, unfortunately. But he really just showed a lot of character, a lot of gut. That kid left it all on the field. And as an Ohio State fan, you could kind of take away that he put it all out on the field. A lot of people were questioning the kid's toughness and stuff like that throughout the season, especially after the Michigan loss. People have their own opinions on somebody, so be it. But that kid really put it all out there on the line. I mean, there was one play where he ducked like 2-3 sacks and then threw the pass to Marvin Harrison Jr. perfectly on the spot in the back of the end zone, which is that was probably hands down the best play I've seen from C.J. Stroud, and that kind of on that point led me to believe he has what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. I knew he could throw the ball, but when you're an NFL quarterback, some of the weaknesses that C.J. Stroud has shown was evading the pocket and having a good sense of the pocket, and being able to take pressure in your face. Georgia has a great interior line with Jalen Carter, who Ohio State did a great job on, which is another good thing to take away for Ohio State. Jalen Carter is a one-man wrecking crew. That dude, I think he might have had a tackle and a tip pass against Ohio State. So on that front, offensive line did a great job. The guards, especially one of those guys being a redshirt freshman with Donovan Jackson. I mean, that's the future of your offensive line right there, Ohio State fans. So you should be proud of that at least. And another person that was questioned a lot, and a lot of people kind of called for his job. Which, if you think that Ryan Day should be fired, that's your opinion. You're entitled to it. Maybe let me know in the comments, and we could chop it up about it or something like that. But people questioned Ryan Day, and I think that Michigan lost the second time to Michigan. I think that really changed Ryan Day. We kind of seen his personality come out. Pregame he's walking, he's firing fans up, having fun, being loose. And, that's what Ohio State's game plan was coming into the game originally was to play loose and go at them, and that's what Ohio State was going to have to do to win this game. C.J. Stroud was going to have to move out of the pocket and make runs. I said 4 to 5 first downs. I don't know if he got 4 to 5 first downs, but I know he did enough to put Ohio State in the position to win that game, and we're going to have to control their interior defensive line was another thing we would have to do to win that game, and I think we did both of those things. And Ryan Day was going to have to play coach aggressive, and Ryan Day did. If it wasn't for a hit on Marvin Harrison at the end of the game, maybe third quarter, I think it was 18 to 3 was the point differential from that point on. I think Ohio State could close that out. We can talk about what ifs all day, but the biggest thing to take away from this game is, one, Ryan Day really showed who he is. He's one of the best play callers in college football and football as a whole. You go ask any NFL executive, they want to hire Ryan Day as their head coach, okay? And that's the reason that Ryan Day got this job, was because of his great play calling, which kind of worries me with him giving up his play calling duties this coming season, because it's kind of like that's what you're here to do. There's been times over the season, over the past year or two maybe, that Ryan Day I felt like he left it in the bag, to reword that, I guess, against Michigan. I thought that first drive, we kind of let it out there and we were aggressive, and then from that point on, we pulled back. It's kind of like Ryan Day sees something's working, and then he wants to go switch it up and do something else. No, just stay with it, keep going. Urban Meyer would do that all the time. He'd punch it down your throat, and he'd keep doing it until you stopped it. And that's what I think Ryan Day needs to do. If you go back and look at the game, wide receivers were 15 yards open every time we threw the ball. We really had our way on offense. Defensively, I see a lot of fingers getting pointed to Jim Knowles. Even in the Michigan game, a lot of fingers getting pointed to Jim Knowles, and I understand he's calling the game. We're not going to talk about the Michigan game. We're going to talk about the Peach Bowl specifically. And a lot of people are questioning his man coverage call with the safety and man coverage up 14 points or whatever it was late in the game that ultimately led to a 70-yard touchdown. Now, I have a hard time blaming this play on Jim Knowles, okay? I coached football as well. I played DB in high school. I did this stuff. Everything you learn as a DB when your cushion is getting broken, flip your hips. Don't let them get on your toes, then flip your hips. Lathan Ransom's cushion was broken 5 yards into that route, and Lathan Ransom didn't flip his hips until the kid made the break. And by that point, Lathan Ransom was on his face, and it led to a 70-yard touchdown. So if you're a D1 safety, corner, don't matter. If you're at Ohio State, you're at Ohio State for a reason, and I think no matter what the play call is there, you gotta execute. And that's what a lot of fans, I feel like, aren't understanding about, whether it's the offense or whether it's the defense. You can blame all you want on the coaching, okay? The play call can be great if the execution is great. The play call does not matter if the execution is not there. And I feel like, for the most part, Ohio State's defensive execution was not there in some fashion of the game. I mean, you had guys getting wrapped up at the line of scrimmage and breaking 30 yards untouched. You had guys running 40 yards untouched on run plays. And, you can blame the play call all you want. Same thing with Michigan. You can blame him for all-out blitzing on this and that. The game plan was to make this person beat you, and you guys called the plays to put you in that situation. But if you don't execute those plays do not matter. And it's the same thing with offense. There was a fake punt. If the timeout doesn't get called, who knows? It was 12 men on the field. Regardless, it doesn't even matter. The execution has to matter, okay? And it was the same thing against Michigan. We had a fake punt on, and we snapped to the wrong guy, okay? Execution, right? And I think mainly for Ohio State fans, you got to take away from this game, one, there was a belief around Columbus, I would say, maybe some fans outside of Columbus, that really believed that the team that was on a Georgia and Alabama level was Ohio State. And I could agree with that. They were the only team that would recruit up to Alabama and Georgia's ranking, the 1 and 2. They would have 1 class, 2 class, whatever, for however many years. I mean, I think Texas A&M had the number 1 last year. We all seen how that went. But before NIL, pre-NIL, it was Georgia, Bama, Ohio State. Those were the 3 teams that all recruited equally, that were top 3 in recruiting consistently. And Ohio State felt like they brought guys in to compete with Alabama and Georgia. And a lot of fans, when Ohio State got into the playoff, might have not agreed with that. They would have thought Alabama should have got in, which Alabama played a great bowl game. They did. But at the same time, I think Ohio State proved they belong. Okay? Whether it's a missed flag or bad play call, whatever it is, regardless, you lost by 1 point. You lost by a missed field goal in the last play of the game by 1 point. And even Kirby Smart came out and said, like, this team, they were kicking their ass. They were. Ohio State did whatever they wanted to on offense. And unfortunately, they couldn't stop them on defense. That is going to have to change, but you guys also got to understand none of those guys are Jim Knowles recruits. Jim Knowles did not recruit any of those guys. I feel like the style of corners and DBs that we're recruiting now fits Jim Knowles' play better. Jim Knowles is aggressive. He's going to continue to be aggressive. That's why he makes $2 million and has successful defenses, is because he's aggressive, okay? He's not going to change up what he does after one season. That's not what you do, okay? You go back and see why it didn't work. You go back and fix it. Now, the guys that we are recruiting in the DB room, for example, our corners that we are bringing in are more physical man corners, okay? Denzel Burke, this is not a knock on Denzel Burke, Cam Brown, whoever. They're not the most physical guys. We've seen that all year. I've had a thing where it was like, somebody throws a 50-50 ball. It's not a 50-50 ball against Ohio State's DBs. It's more 75-25 because they don't stop nothing. It's a flag or catch. There's no in between. Cam Brown had probably his best game all year. Maybe even his best game as a Ohio State player against Georgia, so salute to him. But there's some good things to take away. I think Ryan Day answered the questions behind him and his play calling, his aggressiveness. I think he coached very aggressive, coached a great game, and I really don't like the idea of him giving up play calling as much as some people would. Another good thing, C.J. Stroud really left it all out there. And like I said, Ohio State fans, they're going to have their opinions on him. My opinion will be, a lot of the losses in the big games was not his fault, okay? You look back on, he almost threw for 1,000 yards against Michigan, okay? That's not 1,000 yards in a game. It's 2 games. He threw for 700 yards, 4 total touchdowns. You can't be mad at a quarterback when he's doing stuff like that, okay? Quarterback wins and losses is a stupid stat. It's going to go down as his stat because he lost to Michigan. I get he never beat Michigan. I get he never went to the Big Ten championship. But those things were not in his control. C.J. Stroud's not playing defense, okay? C.J. Stroud's not getting a 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct when you're headbutting people 10 yards out of bounds. That's not C.J. Stroud's fault. So Ohio State fans are going to have their opinion. It is what it is. I thought the kid left it all out there. Another great thing to take away is what you got coming back. Today actually announced Mayan Williams will be back. That's huge. So you'll get back Evan Pryor. This is assuming these guys don't enter the portal. You never know with modern day college football. But you got Mayan Williams back. You got Dallin Hayden back. You got TreVeyon Henderson back. You got Evan Pryor back, who Tony Alford has said since Trey and Evan Pryor's freshman season that he was the fastest player on the team, fastest player in the backfield. So that's great news if you hear that from Ohio State fans or from Ohio State coaches. You get Marvin Harrison back. You get Emeka Egbuka back. You get Julian Fleming back, who actually had probably his best game as an Ohio State player in the Peach Bowl, along with Emeka Egbuka. I know maybe his stats don't say that, but those dudes balled out. I think they did exactly what they needed to do, and I think Ohio State did it exactly what they needed to do to win that game. And there's not going to be any moral victories. This fan base is going to hold these guys to a higher standard. I get it. But looking at the bigger picture here, you proved you belong. You proved that you can go toe-to-toe with the reigning national champion. I don't think people realize how hard it is to win a national championship. You got to get a lot of things to go your way. Like, does Georgia win a national championship if Jamison Williams and John Mechie get hurt? Do they? Because we've seen what Alabama did to Georgia last year with John Mechie and Jamison Williams. So you got to get a lot to go your way. It's very difficult to do what Georgia did last year and to even have a chance to repeat like this year. So I think fans need to kind of scale it back just a little bit. It's hard to win a national championship. It's hard to do what these guys do. It's hard to win these type of games and this magnitude. And I get we're Ohio State, we should win these games. But at the same time, I don't think Georgia necessarily was head and toes over Ohio State. I think we proved we belong. The guy next year's got great people behind him. He's got Marvin back. He's got Emeka back. As long as Ryan Day is calling the shots, I think whoever's throwing the ball is going to succeed. So the future is still bright. The future's still there for Ohio State. Like I said, recruiting wise, there's still some things you could look forward to with the DBs we're bringing in, physical guys, hands on, man cover guys. And you just got to give Jim Knowles some time, okay? You can't expect this dude to take one of the worst defenses in the Big Ten in college football and transform them to Georgia overnight. That's not going to happen, okay? He needs to get his guys in there, his type of scheme. The more you are in a system, the more you learn. So there's still some good things to take away from this Peach Bowl, like I said. It definitely sucks. It sucks a lot. Couldn't get the outcome that they wanted. But at the end of the day, I think Ohio State silenced doubters in the sense of Ryan Day, C.J. Stroud, and so on. So with that being said, you guys go ahead. Let me know what you think. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys next time.